Welcome to the Voices of Hospice Leadership podcast, the show that reveals how to take your hospice to the next level. We cover all things hospice, from marketing and automation to billing and operations. You'll also hear from professionals in the industry as they share their stories of success and practice growth tactics. Here is your host, Brian Frantz.
All right. Welcome to the Voices of Hospice Leadership podcast, where we explore strategies, stories, and people shaping the future of hospice and end-of-life care. I'm your host, Brian Frantz, and today I'm honored to be joined here by Kait, the founder of Peaceful Passage. Kait brings a unique perspective to the end-of-life space, and in this episode, we'll talk about what inspired her to start Peaceful Passage and how she collaborates with hospice teams and look at the challenges families face. So whether you're a hospice leader, a clinician, or a family caregiver, I think you'll find this conversation both inspiring and practical. So welcome, Kait. Please introduce yourself.
Thank you. Yeah, my name is Caitlin, but I go by Kait. I live in Austin, Texas. I'm from Florida originally. And yeah, I'm super excited to be here. I love when anybody wants to talk to me about death because it's a very nuanced conversation and can be very taboo, especially with my age group. And so anybody that's interested to talk about this is, it's exciting.
Awesome. Well, thank you so much for joining today.
Yeah.
And so what inspired you to start and create Peaceful Passage?
Yeah, it started a while ago. I would say before I even understood what it was that I wanted to do. I knew that I wanted to work with people that were very close to the edge, people that were very sick, people that were experiencing a lot of pain and trauma. And I didn't know what all of that looked like. I just knew that there was something in that space that felt very sacred to me, that felt very raw and real. And so I've kind of structured my entire career around that. And it started off with going into nursing school and thinking that that was the route that I was going to take, to quickly find that, clinical work wasn't really my thing. And so again, structured my entire career around, understanding more about end-of-life care, working with hospice, working in the medical field, kind of adjacent. And yeah, just finding that there were a lot of holes in end-of-life care, and that there's so much that can really be done, to support families and people that are navigating end of life. So.
Awesome.
Yeah.
Awesome. Thank you for sharing. And so what does, or how does your role differ from or complement hospice services?
Yeah. So, I like to say that I run adjacent to hospice. So hospice is a wonderful program, as I know you know. It offers so many benefits, for folks that are really needed. It's a bundle of benefits that you get, usually over 65. But what I noticed was that Medicare only covers so much. And so there's still all of these holes that need to be plugged in. And so, from my perspective, I'm not medical, I am not a clinician. I'm not a chaplain. I'm not a social worker, but I do have, a set of skills and that I believe is useful in being able to liaise conversations, to be able to be an advocate for patients. And so, really what I do is non-medical logistical planning, kind of like, a wedding planner would be, or, someone that's an event coordinator. I actually am an event coordinator with another position. So it fits in very nicely. So I can kind of function as like a personal assistant for different things that need to get done. And there's just a list of those things, those things could be.
Awesome. Okay, great. And so talk to me, how do you collaborate with hospice teams? Can you share a little bit about that?
Yeah, so I've only collaborated with one so far, but really it's being able to advocate for the patient or the family. So being able to kind of speak on behalf of the patient, kind of liaise the conversation, because I have an understanding of what hospice is, some of the benefits of hospice. I'm able to kind of communicate between the family and hospice, what's happening there. it's a good adjunct, I would say. Again, I can't take the place of a medical provider or someone that's coming in and actually taking care of a patient in that way.
Yeah.
But being able to maybe take care of the task that the social worker suggests to the family. Like, here's a resource, maybe dive into this resource source a little bit more and explain it to the family. So there's just a ton of different things. It's just really dependent on what the patient or client needs.
Right. And what gaps are you seeing, or do you see with end of life, in the end of life experience that you're looking to fill?
Yeah, well, I think the biggest thing is, like, I see with the families, there's just overwhelm of knowing like what to do next. Like, how do you prioritize, dealing with a parent or a family member? How do you prioritize what's next? And so I really feel like, as much as I'm helping a person that's dying, I'm really helping their family, because they're the ones that are having to navigate it. And so, I think being able to help create structure and sort of being like that middle ground of like an unbiased, sort of bipartisan person to sort of, again, create structure around chaos, what can be chaos.
Right.
Mhm.
Has there been a moment where that really affirmed this work for you?
Yeah. So when I actually was a caregiver for a gentleman. This was before I was actually doing, working with Peaceful Passage. And I was with him a lot. He was a very, in his day, he was like an ex-Marine, just like totally a very impressive guy. And I came in as someone that was supposed to sort of be helping rehabilitate him,
Mm.
and spending time with him. And I saw quickly, like, as I was with him, that things were declining. And his family just wasn't aware of that. They weren't with him as much. And so I was able to really, like, kind of guide that conversation, like, hey, I think this is more about comfort than curative treatment. And so, being able to kind of guide the family in the direction of hospice and what questions to ask and what are some great hospices in the area, and just kind of creating, again, that like structure and organization around that the conversation. And I was with him until he died, and I was a part of
Mm.
the whole process. And it was just, I mean, I have like a letter from them, on my cork board, of like after the funeral, and just what a resource it was. And it was totally reaffirmed that this is something that is a need for like so many people.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Love it.
Yeah.
Awesome. And what are the most common challenges families face, emotionally and practically?
Yeah, I mean, there's so many different things. It's like finances, it's like who's responsible for what is there a will, is who's on the will, like there's just so many
Mhm.
nuances to every family. And I don't know about you, I have a difficult family, and we all many of us do. So, I think being able to just, yeah, like, you see a lot of that. You see a lot of that. And I don't think it's about taking all of that on. I think it's, again, just about being able to be sort of a bipartisan, like, voice of reason,
Yeah.
as much as possible, without totally getting, flying directly into the sun.
Right.
Yeah.
And how would you say that you help them feel more supported or grounded?
Say that one more time.
Oh, how do you help them feel more supported?
Yeah, I mean, I like to think of it as just being available. Like, being a hollow bone is the way I think about it. It's just sort of being able to mutate what's going on and move things around. But I'm very available. Like, part of my shtick is like, I'm very available. So on call usually. So if something comes up, I'm there to like knock it
Yeah.
out right away. I like to just be, available for folks. And I think that helps to have somebody to be like, hey, I need help with this. Can you do this? So
Yeah.
yeah, I think that's something that I definitely am able to provide.
Yeah, I love that. Like being available, like when that phone rings, that you know that person has a need, and you can solve that right then and there.
Yeah, it's
That goes
nice.
a long way.
Totally. We
Mhm.
all just want to be supported. I think we're all like little kids inside. I know I am. And, yeah, just being able to have someone to call to
Yeah.
offer some insight. And I'm still learning, I'm no pro. But I do think that, being able to just feel very grounded and trusting in the fact that like this is something that I know I'm able to provide for people.
Awesome.
So
Do you have a story you're willing to share that shows that shows the impact of this kind of support?
well, I mean, yeah. So I think it happens a lot. I talk about death a lot. I talk about what I'm doing a lot. And, it's for folks that have been through, an experience of losing a loved one or a friend or something like that, they immediately are drawn back to that moment where they had to be the decision maker in that situation and remembering, how hard that was and thinking, wow, I could have really used help and support. And it just, again, it reaffirms that this is I would say, universally understood thing that like it's hard to navigate this stuff on our own. And, how nice it would be to have someone to support and has, an understanding of what to expect. So that happens all the time, all the time.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Awesome. What do you think hospice or what should hospice teams know about supporting caregivers and family dynamics?
I mean, I would say that they probably already do know. That's part of the territory is understanding that every family's dynamic is very different and that caregiver burden is very real for everyone, no matter what level of support they have. Obviously, it matters on degree of like support that they have, but that it's there and that it's normal. And I want caregivers to know that like it's okay to be frustrated and to be angry and to be confused and to feel all of the things that maybe they think that they're not supposed to be feeling.
Yeah.
And I think that those are things that hospice teams know. They're very uniquely, aware of, and that's part of the hospice, you know, deal is that
Yeah.
we're walking into that scenario almost every time.
Yeah.
Mhm.
Yeah, totally. Awesome. And how do you approach the conversation around death and dying?
I mean, with very openly.
Yeah.
It's part of my spiritual practice, I would say. Like, there's a Buddhist sort of meditation around, death awareness. And I think it's something that I am very present with every day because I think it's a way to be very mindful of our lives and sort of the finite nature of our lives. And it's just something that's very, very a part of my life. And,
Yeah.
I think that I maybe talk about it and navigate through that more fluidly than some folks. But I talk about it a lot and I share about it a lot. It's something that I really think is incredibly important for every single person to sit with at least sometimes and to understand because it
Yeah.
makes life, I think, sweeter. And, it's just really important to me. So that's kind of what I want to get across to folks, really.
Awesome.
Yeah.
All right. And how have you grown Peaceful Passage and built awareness?
Yeah. So, I mean, it's just getting started, but, I've made friends with concierge medical services, and I live in Austin, obviously. In Austin, I've met with concierge nursing teams. I'm actually a part of a company, a brand new company called Good Grief. So I work for the company.
Yeah.
It's essentially up leveling, how people plan for end of life care, and it's got all kinds of resources available on there. But I'm actually listed as a resource on there. So not only am I working for the company that's sort of like getting this amazing product off the ground, like an app, I'm also a resource. So I'm kind of being fed through that as well. So just I think having relationships with people that are doing these things and being in the right place, that's been working so far, but I know I still have the goal of reaching out to long-term care facilities and things like that, that are and case managers that are responsible for having those conversations,
Yeah.
social workers, things like that.
Yeah, so being there, showing up. Remind me the name of the name of the app again?
Yeah, it's called Good Grief. So it's just kind of in
Great.
its infancy. Yeah. But
Yeah.
it's going to be a big deal. I'm excited about it. I'm excited.
Awesome. Yeah, I am too. I remember you last time we talked to you, you shared about it. So that's
Yeah,
I'm looking forward to that.
yeah,
Um,
doing good things.
where do you hope to take Peaceful Passage next?
You know, I don't have huge dreams of like taking over the world. I don't.
Yeah.
I there's something about the one-on-one that's really special to me and I want to keep sacred. And
Yeah.
there's obviously the like, grow it, scale it, build it. That stuff has been presented and I'm like, okay, great. But like I don't know if that feels alive for me and feels exciting for me. I just want to be able to really hone in on my skills and my understanding and I just want it to be very sacred and intimate and I think that that's the goal. I don't know where that
Mm,
goes for me from a business perspective, but I think from a soul evolution standpoint, I think that's what I'm the most interested in. So
awesome.
yeah.
Awesome. Awesome. And what's one thing you wish people knew or understood about end of life care?
Well, that it's I mean, we all need it. And I think that I think we are moving into a time again in this culture for sure, but I think we're coming back into a time of understanding the importance of this. This is a lost thing that, in our culture, I think in America, we don't look at death. We kind of it's a conveyor belt behind the scenes, and I think that's changing. I think becoming more innately or we're becoming more in tune with that process, and
Yeah.
so I'm excited to be a part of that change. And I think that I think that that's kind of where the shift is going. And so just an awareness, just an openness towards understanding that end of life is coming and that these are things to think about. Maybe not now, but in the future, or maybe now to plan for the
Yep.
future. So
Love it.
yeah,
How can others support or learn from your work?
gosh, I mean, I don't know. I forgot to look at that question at the end. How can people support me? I don't know. I think just if they know someone that is navigating this situation, I'm always happy to help support or offer resources or be there. I feel very full in the network and community that I have, and so just feeding off the love of friends and community and people that are inspired by this work is fills my cup. So
Okay. Thank you for today. Was there anything else that you wanted to share before we end?
no, I think yeah, I just you know I think my one thing to share, the biggest inspiration for me has been my teacher, Ram Dass. He says that we're all walking each other home, and there's a lot of different ways to look at that, but I really have used that as sort of my mantra. Like, we're all walking each other home. I look at myself as like a door holder, and I'm holding the door for someone
Yeah.
that, eventually someone will hold the door open for me. So I think that if we can do that for each other in death and life, we're going to be in a good place. So
Awesome, Kate. Love your passion.
thank
And
you.
thank you so much for joining us today and
Yeah,
sharing the heart and the passion behind Peaceful Passage. So I think the work you're doing to support families and complement hospice is truly uh, can truly make a difference. And for those listening, I encourage you to connect with Kate and learn more about Peaceful Passage. You'll
yeah,
find links in the show notes there. And as always, thank you for tuning in to the Voices of Hospice Leadership podcast. And if you found this conversation helpful, be sure to subscribe and leave a review and share this episode with your friends or colleagues. So I'm Brian Frantz, and I look forward to bringing you more conversations that help leaders grow, innovate, and serve their communities. Until next time, take care.
If you're looking to attract more families and share your hospice mission with a wider community, visit hospicecaremarketing.com/schedule to schedule your free consultation with marketing expert and founder Brian Frantz. Plus, join our free Hospice Marketing Mastermind group on LinkedIn to connect with other practice leaders and stay up to date with the latest strategies. If you enjoyed this episode, please take a moment to leave us a 5-star review. We'd love to hear from you.